No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve hockey show, by which, of course, I mean the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'll be okay. With Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss, no surprise, another Winnipeg Jets victory. But I do not know how many people would have predicted that tonight's game between the high-flying Winnipeg Jets, the leading scorers in the entire NHL, and the oh-so-talented Colorado Avalanche, led by Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar, would result in a 1-0 Winnipeg Jets victory, Ezzy.
Yeah, and how many people would have predicted that there would be a goal 66 seconds into the game and there wouldn't be another one for the rest of the game, right? So It's going to be a shorter Play Now game recap, and obviously we know who's getting the Seagram shot of the game. It's not going to be Morgan Barron. We were joking about that right before we went live. It maybe could have been Morgan Barron, but he missed the net by, I don't know, a good solid 3 or 4 feet. He was going for top cheddar there. But, yeah, I mean, the Avalanche completely dominated that third period, but Connor Hellebuyck comes up big like he has many times. And it's almost like giving up 4 goals against the Lightning has brought out the best in Hellebuyck like we thought it would, because he usually responds after a bad game with a really good game by usually allowing 2 or less goals, obviously back-to-back shutouts here. Yeah. And, you know, the Colorado Avalanche were very desperate, I thought, from the second period on. We knew, you know, this team had only won a single game in their last 4. They were 12 points behind the Jets, I believe. So that would make them 14 points behind the Jets. And, you know, before we continue to praise the 13-1 Winnipeg Jets, I wouldn't write the Avalanche off just yet. Like they're missing a lot of players, and I'm not talking about Gabriel Landeskog, because they haven't had Landeskog for over 2 years now. I'm talking about Ross Colton. I'm talking about Valerie Nichushkin. I'm talking about Miles Wood. I'm talking about Jonathan Drouin. They have a lot of players, right? Like these are top 9 forwards that they're missing in the lineup. So don't count the Avalanche out yet, folks, even though the Jets, you know, you forget the Jets defeated the Avalanche 3 times in regulation. What was that last game?
7-0.
7-0 in the regular season. So the Jets have been very successful against the Avalanche in the regular season. The playoffs, that's a different story. But just that's all I wanted to get in there was this Avalanche team is very dangerous. Nathan MacKinnon had a lot of good chances. Obviously, Mikko Rantanen was really good. Cale Makar. I mean, that save in the third period was just incredible off the rebound. So, I mean, look, we'll get more into Hellebuyck here, but, you know, the Jets found a way to win. They hung on, and, you know, we have something to talk about for sure on Saturday morning show with that line switch, Drew, because Scott Arneal obviously didn't like what he was seeing out of the Scheifele-Connor Velarde line. They were coughing the puck up a lot in their own zone, and obviously when he made that switch, flip-flopping Ehlers and Connor, that line instantly had more success. Ehlers almost scored after Mason Appleton fed him that nice pass right in front of the net.
Yeah, there's obviously, you know, you saw that Scott Arneal was, you know, the displeased, you know, maybe displeased is too strong of a word, but was, to your point, like you said, didn't like what he was seeing from the Winnipeg Jets in that third period and late in the second period. So he decided to go to a bit of the line blender, justifiably so, as the Jets really were holding on for dear life. You know, they had a couple chances in the third period, the 2-on-1 between who was the 2-on-1? And the Mesnikov and Kyle Connor didn't really result in anything.
No.
But, you know, you saw what was happening tonight is that the Winnipeg Jets were really struggling to match what Colorado was throwing at them, really from, I'd say, the halfway mark of the second period onwards.
I would agree with that. And, when you think about, the penalty that was taken, we were talking about that right before we came on air. Morrissey obviously takes the penalty because the Jets were under siege, not just on that particular shift, but for the majority of the third period. But really, I thought that was impressive because the Avalanche have a really good power play similar to the Jets, not as hot, obviously. But yeah, I think when you talk about, the first period and look, the Jets knew what the Avalanche bring. They saw them in a 5-game series. Obviously, they were hoping it was going to be longer or maybe in a shorter in the Jets case. But I thought they really had trouble slowing the Avalanche down through the neutral zone. I thought that they were having trouble clearing their own zone. I thought that was an issue, and we just talked about that. One of the reasons why I think the Ehlers and Connor switch was made because the Jets just were not able to generate. They couldn't get out of their own zone.
Yeah.
And so I think it was impressive.
It seemed like McKinnon was on the ice for the last half of the game. And in like every shift, it seemed like it was the Nathan McKinnon show. He was just so active and so noticeable, which is what you need from your best players if you're the Colorado Avalanche. Because let's be honest, the bottom 6, who I thought actually played pretty well for Colorado tonight, is not a who's who of the Colorado Avalanche. That's not their regular lineup. A lot of those guys are more likely, you would expect to be more at the AHL level at this point in their career than in the starting 12 forwards for the Avs. Nathan McKinnon, Arturi Lehkonen, and Lehkonen, really, this is only his second game, so he's still just sort of getting his skating legs under him again but you saw how dangerous McKinnon and Rantanen and Lehkonen are. Not that we don't already know this, but the Jets were just holding on for dear life in trying to prevent them from getting the equalizing goal. It just seemed like every time they were on the ice was tilted in the Avalanche favor, particularly from, I'd say, the second period onwards.
Absolutely. And the second line right now for the Avalanche, obviously Casey Middlestat, he's the regular second line center.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Kiviranta and Logan O'Connor, these are third line guys that are playing second line roles because of the injuries we've already talked about, right? Whether it's Miles Wood, whether it's whether it's Jonathan Drouin, whether it's Ross Colton, those are top 6 guys.
Right.
But speaking of the American Hockey League, TJ Tynan, good for him, 32 years old. I think he was a 3rd-round draft pick. I forget who, of the Ducks or somebody else. I know he was a 3rd-round draft pick, but this was only like his 26th game. They mentioned it on the broadcast. This is a guy who had 98 points a few years back in the AHL. Like, I forget
for Ontario, for the Reign.
Yeah, I was going to say Chicago Wolves, but it was with the Ontario Reign. So a guy like TJ Tynan, right? Like, if it wasn't for all these injuries, he would be in the American Hockey League. So you like to see that. Logan O'Connor, we mentioned him just now on the second line. He had a couple of good scoring chances. Remember, Hellebuck made the good glove save on O'Connor, so I thought he looked good. I just thought that the Jets were way too much on the defensive. Like, this was not the crisp, kind of clean defensive game that the Jets like to play. They were on their heels way too much. And that, sure, Drew, you're right. That's a testament to players like McKinnon and Makar and Rantanen. But I just didn't think in tonight's game there was really one line, aside from maybe the Lowry line, that was really going out there and really establishing anything whatsoever in the offensive zone. We talked about Ehlers had that good chance when there was a partial line shift and you had Appleton out there with Scheifele and Ehlers. That was a really good scoring chance. But really, how many scoring I have to check the high danger chances in the second and third period, but there weren't a lot for the Jets.
No, there were not a lot of high danger chances for the Winnipeg Jets in tonight's game. There were 5 in the course of the entirety of the game, 3 in the first period. So you could really see, from the second period on, the Jets, I thought, controlled the first period of today's game. And we'll get into the goal, of course, when we start the Play Now game recap, which will be following Scott Arneal's post-game comments here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. We can see backstage, and as soon as we see the Winnipeg Jets head coach heading to the podium, we will bring him to you live here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. But from the first period on, the Jets were certainly on their heels, and Colorado took it to the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets had some opportunities, but I thought Alexander Georgiev actually got better, certainly as this game went on. I mean, he gives up that first goal. It probably was on the Jets' first shot. If not the first, it was the second shot, the Gabe Velarde goal. But I thought Georgiev got more comfortable.
Sorry, Drew, but then Kyle Connor had that breakaway.
Exactly.
And he makes a big save. And if they go down 2-0, it's a very different game.
If it's
because the Avalanche have been that the problem isn't scoring goals for the Avalanche.
No,
like obviously McKinnon and Makar are 1-2 in the league in scoring right now. At least they were heading into the game. I don't think that's changed.
Right.
But the problem has been their PK has been just abysmal. And their goaltending has been terrible. So, if you're an Avalanche fan, and, maybe we have a few Avalanche fans sprinkled in here watching or listening on the podcast. But I think if you're the Avalanche, 14 points now behind the Jets.
Based on what we're hearing from the players in the room, I'm sure there's a feeling it's not your best effort, but what did you like about the way your team survived that game?
Yeah, we got 2 points. I mean, we're here in November. If we're sitting, February, March, April, we're not very happy about it. We found a way to win the hockey game. We had a good first period. After that, we were downhill, and those guys all know that. I didn't have to say much. They all knew that. Helly put on a performance and got the 2 points. Get on to the next one.
Yeah, I know that the belief with the team coming into this is, important game, Central Division game, but we weren't going to make that about retribution. All that said, given, what happened in the playoffs last year, Connor coming out against a team that seemed to kind of have his number and then responding in his first available time slot to do it against that team, does that mean anything?
Well, I think it certainly does for him. Obviously for him to come out and, to play like he played, really frustrated them. He made some great stops and some fantastic stops. And but like I said, we weren't going into this game retribution from last year. It wasn't that. It was another opponent here in November on a very busy schedule. Just trying to make sure that, really, like I said, I really liked our start, and it was one of these games that we just let it go. We kind of handed it back to them more than anything. And but like I said, I'm done. I'll look at this one, and we're down to Colorado, now it's Dallas. So it's just, I know you guys don't want to hear that, but at the end of the day, the schedule's too crazy, too busy right now, and that's just how we're kind of taking it.
What, from your vantage point, led to you guys spending so much time in the defensive zone? Was it just a matter?
I think I'll go 3 places. We didn't break the puck out real well. We didn't get through the neutral zone. We turned a lot of pucks over through the neutral zone, and then when we didn't have that extended zone time, we were, we got knocked off pucks. Our puck support in the O zone, where we usually, especially in the first, where we had we had close support. We got pucks to the net. We had traffic. It was kind of a 200-foot kind of problem tonight. It was really, then in the second period, I think they had 5 rush chances we got outnumbered. We got our F3 dove in. Our 4th and 5th guys got beat up the ice by maybe their D. So it was a little bit of everything kind of happened there.
You switched Ehlers and Connor at one point there. What was,
I was switching everything at one point, and then I was trying to come back to it. I still needed Lowry's line. Obviously I needed those guys, and so just trying to find something. I was trying to get Al back out there and get him up in the mix. I know how kind of the player that he is as well, and it just, I flipped it, and Vladdy and KC got a break 2-on-1, and then Fly had a great chance with Scheif, and it was just kind of had to do something a little bit different. That's all.
Yeah, what makes that the moment? Like, I was trying to think of the last shift before that. There's a couple where you guys won the puck, gave it away, won the puck, gave it away. Was that the moment, or was that in your mind before that?
No, it started in the second period. There was a lot of that. We had the puck and it was gone. They had it. We had the puck. We didn't make the right decision on it, and it was a lot of areas of the ice. It wasn't just in the offensive zone or through the neutral zone. It was like we were making plays that, that ended up on their stick, and then to compound it, how we defended against it, wasn't how we usually play with our structure, and it got away from us. And at the end of the day, our goaltender obviously did what he had to do to get us those 2 points.
When they get running around in the offensive zone, Colorado, and they're looking for those high tips, they're recovering pucks. I think most of your D, maybe all 6 of them, had like a goal line clearance at some point today. Hellebuck obviously had a great game. What is the key to weathering that and surviving it and just dealing with the fact that that's happening?
Yeah, when you start to stretch out and start to chase, then they're going to really find the seams and the open, and they're going to find the slots. I thought we did a really good job of finding some of those rebounds, that some of those ones that did drop out. Our D's did a pretty good job of staying close. We got outnumbered, and we didn't get outnumbered quite as much as, maybe some other times. But at the end of the day, it's really, when you're caught like that and they're feeling pretty good about what they're doing, those 5 guys that they have out on the ice, and in the third period it was predominantly those guys. In the second, it wasn't just that top 5, but it's kind of keep them the outside and force some bad shots, and force that one where it's a spray and you can go and get it and maybe make a clear, make a pass, get out of your zone somehow.
My last one is, as a coach, you're so clearly focused on the process, right? It's always about the process, and we can hear that even in probably your tone, I would say. Were you that way as a player coming out of a game, or has it changed?
I think there's a lot more emotion when you're a player. You're more mad at yourself, or or happy about what you've done. I think that, especially when you have games like this, you get on yourself a little bit more. And I think a coach, I have to kind of look after 20 people, and you're kind of trying to make sure that you're sparking them. You're with your coaching staff. You're trying to, get those guys, everybody pick their game, try to get them fired back up again. So maybe it's just one last push where we happen to score a goal and make it 2-0. And I don't know if that's answering the question, but the player part, I don't know. It's too far in my past, I guess. Is now the coach part. It's just try to motivate the rest of the guys to find a way to win the game. Thanks.
There he goes, Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arneal here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. The coach's comments tonight brought to you by our good friends at Boston Pizza. Are you hungry for a holiday party? Well, this holiday season, skip the stress and let Boston Pizza handle your party plans. They've just launched their new Fa-la-la-la-la flavors menu: cranberry brie dip, the rib and wing duo, not to mention, of course, the tour of Italy, or my personal favorite, the braised beef mac and cheese, which I happen to have here right now on the show. So I will follow.
What are you doing to me here, Mindell?
I'm going to enjoy some of this braised beef mac and cheese, courtesy of our friends at Boston Pizza. And of course, you should consider Boston Pizza for all of your holiday party needs this holiday season. You talk, I eat.
You did it to me again. You did this last year. You got the delicious Boston Pizza delivered to you, yet Dave, Emma, and I were left hungry and wondering why we didn't get Boston Pizza delivered. I was at Boston Pizza a couple of nights ago. I took the kids to Boston Pizza Polo Park because I'm in St. James now.
Of course.
Boston Pizza Taylor used to be it's still the home of IC. Because
it's the
that's
home of Illegal Curve. We're going to be
Yes.
there again on the 22nd of November. The Jets and the Penguins are watch party and live on location broadcast. That's coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow, Friday, 6 p.m., the 22nd of November. By the way, that's really good braised beef mac and cheese. I'm sure you're a little bit jealous right now.
Well, I am jealous, even though I didn't even get to. I was going to say I had the chicken and mushroom fettuccine when I was there on Tuesday night prior to the Jets-Utah game.
Yes.
But yeah, that braised beef mac and cheese sounds delicious. So maybe whatever you have there, Drew, just leave it on your front porch and I'll come pick it up.
I'll get right on that, leaving it for you on the front porch. No questions about that. Thanks to our friends at Boston Pizza for keeping me fed tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show.
And let me tell you, I was worried about that because
I know
you're skin and bones. So
I was wasting away here is what was happening. I'm wasting away if it wasn't for our friends at Boston Pizza keeping me well fed. So thank you to them for their continued support, of course, of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Winnipeg Jets victorious tonight over the Colorado Avalanche by that 1-0 margin over almost 400 of you live tonight watching us here on the Illegal Curve post-game show, brought to you by our friends at Play Now. Drew Mandel, Ezra Ginsburg with you. You heard from Jets head coach Scott Arneal. Not particularly pleased with his team's performance. He himself saying, look, this isn't a textbook victory for us. We'll take the 2 points. We're not going to dwell on it. We're not going to use it as an example of the way we want to play. But, we'll take the 2 points. We might hold our noses a little bit over our performance, but 13-1 is still 13-1, no matter how stinky tonight's game may have been from the Jets' perspective.
We've got the comment up there from T. Will, and for those listening on the podcast, the comment is, in an 82-game season, sometimes you'll come out a little bit flat. Really good teams find a way to win those games too, and that speaks to your point, Drew, right? Like, good teams hang on for those wins, but I think in a game like tonight, you sometimes just have to say, Connor Hellebuck stole that game in the third period, right? Like, he didn't do that on Tuesday night against Utah. The Jets were the better team in that game, and they weren't hemmed in their own zone like they were tonight. But I mean, that save on Cale Makar, Devon Taves with the point shot, Cale Makar sneaks in there, and Hellebuck is just getting up for making that original save off of Taves. Like, that is a 10-bell save, A+++ save. And he made several of those. Arturi Lehkonen in close.
This is probably the first game this year, though, Ezzy, that you can say that Hellebuck really, was the clear difference maker for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm trying to think back to the other 13 victories so far, the 12 victories prior to tonight's game, and I really can't remember one in particular where he stood on his head. This was the one where I think he most stood on his head. Maybe the game against Minnesota, but that was a long time ago, and I can't really recall it that well. But tonight was certainly one of those victories where you can say, our goalie's Connor Hellebuck, and as good as Alexander Georgiev was, and he was good for Colorado, you don't have him. There's a handful of games every year where Hellebuck steals it for the Jets, and this will certainly go into that category for tonight.
For sure. And, you mentioned this is the first game that Hellebuck's stolen. This is really, I would say, the first win of the 13 wins. It's incredible that we're already talking about 13 wins. Like, it just keeps getting better and better if you're a Jets fan, not so much if you're an Avalanche fan who are now 6-8. But this was, I would say, the first game in which you would say the Jets really didn't deserve to win, right? Like, I'm trying to think back, like, even those earlier wins against Chicago and Minnesota, both of those were 2-1 wins, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, They deserved to win those games, but this was a game in which the Avalanche were throwing everything but the kitchen sink. No, they were throwing the kitchen sink at Connor Hellebuck.
Saved it, though.
And he saved it, and he said, okay, I'll just put that in the net, keep shooting pucks at me here. But, Nathan MacKinnon comes in off of a 5-assist performance against Seattle. And we haven't even mentioned, Cale Makar was a game-time decision. He tweaked something.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Drew, it wasn't like Cale Makar was a passenger in this game. And, you look at, the second pair with Josh Manson and Sam Girard, and even I thought Calvin DeHaan was good there. Sam Malinsky is a guy who's a little bit older, but he was a standout at the University of Denver. This is his second year, I should say. He didn't play a full year last year with the Avalanche, but there's an opportunity for him. He's played all 14 games this year. I thought Malinsky looked pretty solid. So, again, this Avalanche team right now is standings. You'd look at the standings and you'd say, okay, this team is, everything's falling apart. I can't say the same thing about the Nashville Predators. I'm much more worried about them because I don't think they're going to be able to come back from this, but I think the Avalanche are going to be able to come back from this, especially when they get guys like Jonathan Drouin and Ross Colton and Valerie Nichushkin back.
If the Avalanche get league average goaltending, even not terrible goaltending, I won't even say league average, but if they get goaltending that isn't horrific, they're going to be fine. They have too much. Well,
Georgiev's save percentage, Drew, was something like 810 heading into this game, right? Like, it was just like, and that was in 6 games. It's not like he's played 2 or 3 games, and that's one of the reasons why. Well, and Eustace, the thing that was weird is Eustace Annunen was in net versus the Kraken, and he played really well. Yeah. So it was a bit of a surprise that Georgiev went in net, but look, he played really well. So obviously Jared Bednar knows what he's doing.
Well, a hard luck loser is what Georgiev was tonight. It's more of a baseball reference when a pitcher goes, 8 innings and throws, gives up 1 run and he ends up taking the loss. Georgiev was the equivalent of that tonight. He was very good for the Avalanche in net. It just so happened that Connor Hellebuyck was 1 goal better. You mentioned the Predators. Just a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Lost again.
The Predators lost again. They got schmeiced, if you will, which is a nice way of saying bleep kicked by the Florida Panthers 6-2 tonight. And they only had 18 shots on goal in the entirety of the game. So Barry Trotz, was voicing his concerns about his team. And unfortunately, his team did not respond in kind. So you wonder what's next there in Nashville as they continue to absolutely struggle to start this year. 4-9-1. Worse
It's really
than the
incredible,
Chicago
Drew.
Blackhawks.
Like it's one thing to struggle.
Yeah.
But they're a bottom feeder right now in that Central Division. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
And
they are awful so far.
yeah, and you kind of scratch your head. I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Predators because we obviously focus on the Jets.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's lack of goal scoring, team defense. If you see Saros, obviously when you start off 4-9-1, it's not all goaltending. So look, they're in deep trouble there. And when you bring in Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea, we know who they brought in. These are big name, established veteran players, and they haven't got it done. So they're not completely out of it. But
well, they both can't score and they can't make any and can't get any goaltending. So it's a bad combination. But we'll talk.
Who would have expected that? Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Another time, maybe when the Jets play the Predators. But
right.
It's certainly surprising. And again, it's been a little bit of a weird start in that sense because you have the Jets right now so far ahead of everyone. Like it's not like even Dallas won tonight, I believe. But they're still, what are they, 10 points back? So the Jets have a very comfortable lead in the Central Division right now.
Yeah, Dallas beat Chicago and Utah beat St. Louis. So the Jets, you're right, Ezzy. The Jets, in terms of in their division alone, are 8 points ahead of the 8-2-2 Minnesota Wild. So it's not like the Minnesota Wild are bad, and yet they're somehow 8 points behind the Winnipeg Jets at this point in time. The Wild, I think, are in action as well. They're up 1-0 on San Jose, so then that might change. Likely will change at the end of the night.
Yeah, it's probably going to be 5-0 Minnesota by the end of the second period. But
there you go. Let's get into the period by period, goal, as the case may be, 1 goal recap. It's the Play Now game recap here on the Illegal Curve post-game show.
The Play Now game recap.
I got to tell you, it's taking a lot of my willpower not to keep on munching on this braised beef mac and cheese, courtesy of our friends at Boston Pizza. But I am a professional.
Go for it, Drew. Who am I to stop you?
Well, nobody wants to watch the show while I have a mouthful of food and going. It makes for bad. I'll say TV, whatever the hell this platform is, streaming, whatever, digital. Anyways, I'll be a professional and I'll wait till the commercial breaks and then I'll eat the food accordingly.
Yeah, you can heat it up during the commercial break, Drew.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a lot of walking, Ezzy. I'm not all about extra steps. You know that. I've had my allotment of steps so far.
You got your
tonight.
42 steps in.
Exactly. I went from the couch to the basement. I got to go back up to the main floor, the second story. I got to go all the way up later. I might be winded by that point in time. In any event, the Play Now game recap brought to you by our friends at Play Now. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. And of course, first and foremost, please enjoy responsibly. 1 goal, minute 6 into the game. Gabe Vilardi, his 6th of the season. Assist to Mark Scheifele. Guess what, folks? It's also the
Seager shot of the game.
Sometimes my job is really easy. Today's one of those nights where it's just a really easy job for me when it comes to hitting the bumpers and getting the promos in and everything else.
And stuffing your face with free Boston pizza.
And getting more Boston pizza. Minute 6, like I said, it's a 2-on-1. Scheifele, gets the puck at the Jets' defensive blue line. He gets it past Josh Manson. Manson goes for the pinch. He tries to body off Scheifele. Scheifele sidesteps him, walks around him, and he comes in 2-on-1. Great pass from Scheifele to Velarde. Velarde makes no mistake. Georgiev is down. Velarde goes up 1-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. And you thought, okay, maybe this is going to be a blowout, or maybe this is going to be a track meet. But who knew that was going to be it in terms of the goals in tonight's contest? Just utterly bizarre a little bit in that sense.
Yeah, it's great puck pressure from Mark Scheifele. You mentioned it, Drew. Josh Manson, he simply just bobbles the puck at the Jets' blue line, and it's off to the races, right? And Scheifele at first kind of struggled to gain control of the puck. He was kind of doing the old one-hand wonder.
Yeah.
But once he gets control of the puck, you're absolutely right. It's a beautiful tape-to-tape pass to Gabe Velarde. And, we saw that shortly after, I forget who it was. Remember, we mentioned Kyle Connor has a breakaway shortly after the Velarde goal.
Yeah.
But Scheifele made another.
About a minute after. It was.
Scheifele made another play. So again,
yeah,
it speaks to the Jets creating offense in the defensive zone and getting the puck up quickly. The problem was we saw that early in the first period, and we saw that a little bit more in the opening frame, but we didn't see it a lot throughout the game. And that was because the Avalanche were doing a really good job of being the team that was gaining all the speed through the neutral zone and then having those long shifts in the Jet zone. Usually it was the McKinnon, Rantanen, Arturi Lehkonen line that was doing a lot of the damage. But we talked about it, even that second line with Middlestat, Kiwi Ranta, and Logan O'Connor. They had some good chances in the second and third period. But yeah, I mean, whether it's Scheifele and Connor or Scheifele and Velarde, or you could throw in Ehlers for that matter. I mean, Scheifele doesn't get, I think, enough credit for his playmaking ability. And I think that, we know that Scheifele's all-around game has improved. He's still not, Guy Carbonneau or Yuri Lettinen in terms of, being an excellent defensive forward. But, I think you would agree, Drew, that over the last, let's say 3 years, 4 years maybe, he's improved his defensive play. And, that's just opportunistic. That's what that was. That was opportunistic, pouncing on the Josh Manson turnover, and then turning it up ice, gaining control of the puck, and then just, instead of shooting, reading that well and getting over to Velarde, who just outweights Georgiev. And we mentioned, after that, if you want to get into that, because obviously there's no more goals to get into. I think Kyle Connor, on that breakaway was another example, of the Jets and their counterattack pressure.
Well, the counterattack pressure, certainly, but also Colorado was very loose defensively to start this game. Through the first 5-10 minutes of the game, I think the first 5 minutes, the shots were 5-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. So it took Colorado a while. The Jets were certainly controlling the early minutes of tonight's game. The first 10 minutes were terribly one-sided in the Jets' favor. Kyle Connor, you talk about the breakaway opportunity there. If he scores there, and truthfully, more often than not, he is going to score on that. And he had two chances. He had the breakaway.
Yeah, he had a rebound.
Rebound, and Georgiev made those saves. If the Jets score there and they take a 2-0 lead within the first, 5 minutes of this game, I think it has a different result. Obviously, it's not going to be, obviously it would be 2-0 at that point in time instead of the 1-0 final, but it sort of felt like, that save by Georgiev allowed Colorado to maybe begin to find their skating legs, because Colorado really didn't show up for the first, I'd say, 8 to 10 minutes of tonight's game.
Exactly. And, one thing, the funny thing about hockey is, we talk about hockey all the time, obviously on the post-game show, on the Saturday show, when we're not doing shows. I mean, we obviously live and breathe hockey here, but
while we're asleep, we talk about it in our dreams, things like that,
Absolutely. The one thing that I noticed about that period is obviously the Lowry line is going to be matched up against McKinnon all day long, especially with last change, right? And I thought what that line did really good in the first, really well, I should say, in the first period, is they managed to keep the puck in the Avalanche zone and not really give, that McKinnon line a ton of. The thing with the McKinnon line is not only can they enter the zone with a lot of speed, but they can all three of those players have great hands, and they have the ability to kind of make things in tight spaces out of nothing. And you didn't really see that in the second, third period. It's kind of hard. Scott Arneal answered the question. I think it was Jacob Stoller that asked the question when he was asking about the line switches and, why the Jets were spending so much time in their defensive zone. And he mentioned that they weren't sustaining a lot of pressure, but they also weren't really good in the neutral zone, and they weren't really good on their zone entries. So,
aside from that, they were great though.
yeah, I know, and it's easy to say, right? Because it wasn't like we talked about. Like, I don't think you can just say that this game was just all the McKinnon line. Like, I actually think Kovalenko. And speaking of Kovalenko, that made me feel really old because it doesn't feel like that long ago that we were watching Andrei Kovalenko play in the NHL. Kovalenko, for those who don't know, he wasn't drafted by the Avalanche. He was in the KHL, and he's another one of those guys that I don't know if he's in the lineup if the Avalanche don't have all of these injuries. But I think that's one thing that I thought that it was a little bit tough to understand. Well, why couldn't the Lowry line have as much success in the second and third periods? Well, it's easier said than done. You're going up against 200+ point forwards. You're talking about the Hart Trophy winner last year, right? So I mean, it's a tall task. And so I think that Arneal mentioned that they're going to move on and focus on Dallas, but I think they know that they got away with one there. I mean, I think they were lucky, like it was some Hellebuck theatrics that won this game tonight. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to poo-poo on the 13th win of the season. I'm just saying that aside from the early part of that first period, the first half, let's call it, and a little bit sprinkled out the third period, the Jets did not have a lot going on offensively, and they had 2 power plays. The power play looked fine. Like it wasn't the most dangerous power play we've ever seen. Look, there are going to be games throughout the course of an 82 game season where your power play doesn't score a goal. I know it's hard to believe because the Jets power play is at 45% or whatever it's at right now. Obviously, it's going to go down a little bit now, but this was a game in which they just didn't create a lot offensively, and that's why I think you might see a tweak or two. I thought Rasmus Kupari, Drew, was a lot better tonight than
he was dangerous. I thought of the Jets forwards, especially sort of earlier in the game when things were going better for the Jets. I thought he was effective. I thought he used the speed well. I thought
they had him out there late. Obviously
taking draws.
He was winning. I think he was around 60% tonight. I have to check about his faceoffs, but he was out there late taking a faceoff. One thing I also wanted to mention here, I thought Cole Perfetti had a quiet game, and obviously that doesn't mean that I'm coming down on Cole Perfetti or anything like that. If you've listened to the post-game shows and you've listened to the Saturday shows, we're a big fan of Perfetti here on this show. But I thought he had a little bit of a quiet night. I just didn't really notice him. I didn't think he was creating a lot. And is that a fact? Is that score effects the fact that this game was really controlled by the Avalanche for the final 2 periods? Maybe, but you wonder, because of that, the combination of the Scheifele line not having their best night and the Ehlers switch and Perfetti not having a great night. I thought Nemestikov was fine, but you just wonder, and that'll be a Saturday morning topic, like is that something to monitor? I'm not saying that there's going to be a permanent switch or anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets roll the exact same 4 lines against Dallas, by the way, Drew, but I'm just talking about going ahead on this road trip where you've got Florida and you've got the New York Rangers and teams like this. That's when I think you might see a switch where even if it's for a game or two.
I thought what Scott Arneal said and what Scott Arneal did, where he's saying, look, we weren't generating anything, so we needed to switch things up, when he was talking in his coach's comments on the post-game show here, where they were struggling, there were turnovers, there was just bad puck management. I like that he didn't keep throwing the same thing at the wall for the entirety of the 60 minutes. He said, things aren't working. I have to try and generate something. And so how do I generate something? Well, I'm going to make a switch. I'm going to switch Connor and Ehlers. I'm going to put Iafallo up. I'm going to put Appleton back. I'm going to move Barron up. Just try something else to just change the chemistry. And it doesn't have to be for games on end. It doesn't even have to be for periods on end. He just changed things up to try and change the tenor of the game. And I don't know that it worked necessarily, by and large, but you saw that Nemestikov and Connor had that opportunity. You saw that Ehlers had an opportunity in that third period. It just gave a little bit of a different wrinkle for a brief period of time when the Jets needed something to change because it was so lopsided and so one-sided for a lot of that third period and a lot of that second period as well, that he knew that the status quo wasn't going to deliver any different results than what he had seen so far.
By the way, I just checked. I was completely wrong about Rasmus Kupari in the
about
face-off
43% or so.
It was 42.9%.
I didn't want to say anything. I'll let you throw yourself under the bus.
Yeah, no, but
me throw you under the bus.
Well, no, I think what happened is Lowry and Scheifele was 57% and Lowry was 60%. So for some reason, I just assumed Kupari was also at 60%, but he was not. But
I mean, 43% means he won 3 and lost 4. So we're talking about the difference between one win. If he'd won 4 and lost 3, he would have been at 57%. So really, we're talking negligible differences here.
Well, yeah, and I think the point that we're trying to make here is that Kupari he had that scoring chance. I forget if that was the first period or the second period. He had a couple, I believe, a couple shots on net. Now I have to check myself because I got to fact check myself. He did have 2 shots on net. Okay, Drew. So I wasn't completely off base on that one.
No, one of them I even jotted down as a decent, it was a decent opportunity for a fourth line that really hasn't been scoring a lot. I mean, Kupari got that first goal in that game in Edmonton. We know that Iafallo got his goal on the power play against Tampa Bay earlier this week, or I guess that would have been last Sunday at this point in time. We know Morgan Barron has been a little bit snake bit. Can't even hit an empty net right now, the poor guy, given he airmailed that one late in the third period. But that fourth line has been is wanting to generate some more offense. They're doing a decent enough job, a relatively decent job of winning the minutes. Sure. Tonight, not so great. They were 33% on the 5-on-5 Corsi 4 number tonight. But that's a line that wants to generate some more offense for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, not just that line. I think really all 4 lines. I mean, it really was a struggle for the Jets to get the puck out of their own zone and get anything going. You saw that in the third period where Nino Niederreiter just basically, dumped the puck in and got the puck himself and went up against 3 Avalanche forwards and kind of just, pinned the puck along the boards just to be like, okay, like we want that McKinnon line to just not be in our zone for like 30 seconds. Like it was out of control. But yeah, I mean, when you have Connor Hellebuck back there, I mean, the game is in less doubt than it otherwise would be. And, we saw him make save after save. We talked about the Makar save had to have been his top save. But yeah, like it's, sometimes there are going to be those games and we haven't seen a lot of those games, but look at when you're talking about, when you're talking about the Utah Hockey Club versus the Colorado Avalanche, you don't have to worry like Clayton Keller and Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther, these types of players, Nick Schmaltz, they're not Nathan McKinnon. Like Nathan McKinnon, there's a lot of talk about, and I'm sure, we're going to get into that on Saturday, or if we don't get onto it Saturday, we'll probably get into it next week, because obviously they're going to be picking Team Canada really soon. And there's a lot of talk about Mark Scheifele, Josh Morrissey, Adam Lowry on Canada. It's going to be the Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid show for Team Canada. Like there's going to be a lot of
Crosby.
Well, and Sidney Crosby, obviously, but McKinnon is going to be who other teams have to game plan against. Like, and just watching him tonight, sorry, we can get back to the Jets here for a second, but everybody knows, like, he doesn't skate, like he gallops. Like he has this power skating.
He's got a rocket attached to him. I mean,
yeah, it's like watching Kyle Connor, but like times 2. Like we're treated by Connor and Ehlers, but then McKinnon like takes it to a different level. Yeah, rocket skates is a great way to explain it, Drew. But it's not just that. Like he's able to, if he knows that he doesn't have anything. There was one play in the third period where, he kind of enters the Jet zone, but there was 2 guys converging on him. And he just dropped the puck back to Taves, and then Taves came in and didn't even result in a good scoring chance. But he knows like when to turn it on, when to turn it off, when to dish the puck, when to hold on to it. He's an incredible player. He really is. And it's amazing that he's leading the league in points, and the Avalanche are doing so poorly in the standings. But again, that shows you injuries and poor goaltending. That's why the Avalanche are where they are right now.
That's right. The goaltending is the big bugaboo in Colorado. It wasn't the bugaboo tonight for either team, and certainly not for the Winnipeg Jets, as the one and only goal by Gabe Vilardi is all that propels the Winnipeg Jets to the 1-0 victory, their 13th win in 14 games, joining the Ottawa Senators, the 07-08 Ottawa Senators, as the only teams in NHL history to win 13 of their first 14 games in a season. The Jets, of course, will look to expand on this incredible start on Saturday afternoon as they face off.
Hold on a second. 2006, 2007, you said, Drew?
07-08.
07-08. Weren't you in Ottawa then?
07-08, I would have moved back to Winnipeg.
But you were in Ottawa around there.
I was in Ottawa. I moved back to Winnipeg
2004, 2005.
That's right. I moved back to Winnipeg in April of 07. So I left, and the Senators all of a sudden had a great deal of success.
Yeah, no, I obviously that's where I was getting at. There's a correlation there, but I mean, you're talking about that would have been like the peak of the, Daniel Alfredson, Chris Phillips, Jason Spezza. They had some good players, but
Wade Redden probably was there still.
Yeah, throwing Wade Redden. I don't know if Radek Bonk was still on the team back then. He might have been. But you're talking about a good team. And the Jets are in elite company there, and really alone in terms of the amount of teams that have done this. It's incredible. And you've got Dallas coming in, who obviously, is a rival of the Jets, but they have an opportunity to now put together 14 wins in 15 games. Dallas isn't going to make it easy on them.
No.
But yeah, it's just an incredible run. But like we said, even though this game, out of all of the wins so far this season, you'd say they were lucky. Like on the deserve a win-o-meter, it was all Avalanche. Like it was, I don't know what it was. It must have been like 80% or something like that. I have to check what's that site? Money Puck. But sometimes you have to just say Connor Hellebuck made the saves when he needed to, and he stole it.
Yeah, and exactly right. He stole it, and on the deserve a win-o-meter, it indeed was in Colorado's favor. They should have won about 63, 64% of this time, this game.
I thought it would have been higher than that, but maybe that's just because, they really only turned it on in the second and third periods only. I mean, that was 2/3 of the game, but the first period was not the best. They were pretty badly outshot by the Jets, but regardless, Hellebuck was excellent. He put up the Hellebuckian wall in front of the net, and the Jets will take the win. A win is a win at the end of the day.
A win is a win indeed. This has been the Play Now game recap here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Of course, this program brought to you by Play Now. Don't bet on illegal sites. Bet with Play Now instead. Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site. 18+. Enjoy responsibly, much like I'm going to enjoy this braised beef mac and cheese responsibly while we pay for some commercials and pay some bills with these advertisers. Don't go anywhere. Drew Mandel, Ezra Ginsburg with you. It's a Thursday night. The Jets win 1-0. Much more of the Illegal Curve post-game show to come after these commercial messages.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
25 minutes before the top of the hour. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Ezra Ginsburg with you, talking about the Jets' 1-0 victory over the Colorado Avalanche.
You've got some mac and cheese in your mustache, Drew.
Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. You know what I should replace it with? I should replace it with this caramel pecan sticky toffee pudding, courtesy of our friends at Boston Pizza. This is some good stuff here, folks. Oh, that's very good.
This is like when we're at our best. Like not when we're blabbing along about the Jets power play or breaking down the game or anything like that. This is when we're at our best, when people can actually view and hear us eating.
Yes, and you know what? This caramel pecan sticky toffee pudding, it actually comes with vanilla ice cream. But nice. I ate the vanilla ice cream before the show started.
Yeah, obviously,
I was worried it might melt, and I didn't want to waste good quality vanilla ice cream. So I had to eat that before the show. But normally,
melted ice cream's the worst, Drew. I mean, that's just that's just an experienced foodie right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't want to, the food gods would smite me if they knew that I was melting ice cream rather than eating the ice cream. But when you order that at Boston Pizza, it will come piping hot with ice cream. So you get a little a la mode if you like that. If you're an apple pie, you're an apple pie a la mode kind of guy, Ezzy?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm an a la mode guy just in general, I would say.
Yeah.
And I like most food, as you know, Drew. I mean, there's not a lot of food that I don't like. That's probably why I'm 255 pounds. I just weighed myself recently. I really need to get back in the gym because I think that's the most I've ever been. But obviously, we're eating our emotions for Jets fans tonight. Jets fans, we're a little bit nervous in the third period there, clinging, hanging on to that 1-0 lead. So that's what we're doing. We're just eating the emotions of Jets fans right now.
Sure, we'll go with that as opposed to the fact that I would just enjoy eating, mac and cheese and
or eating our own emotions.
That's true. We're eating something. It doesn't matter why we're eating. The point is that we're eating, and it's courtesy of our friends at Boston Pizza here on the Play Now Illegal Curve post-game show. Again, Boston Pizza, if you're looking for a place to host your holiday party, check them out. You can get all the information there. A couple of interesting stats. Connor Hellebuyck became the 6th U.S.-born goaltender in NHL history to register at least 40 career shutouts. Jonathan Quick leads that list with 60. You'd have to think that Connor Hellebuyck will be hot on his heels over the remainder of his career to see if you can get over Jonathan Quick 60. Ryan Miller, 44. Craig Anderson, 43. Frank Brimsek, 40. And John Van Beesbroek, 40. So it would not be a surprise if Connor Hellebuyck ended the year in second spot in that list of U.S. goaltenders to record at least 40 career shutouts.
We've got the comment up there from D-Mart, like the Helly statue is going to be beside the Ducky statue one day. Most players, you would say, that's ridiculous. But with Hellebuyck, it's not that ridiculous. This is going on a bit of a tangent here, but I've heard the conversation already online about where Hellebuyck ranks as the best goaltenders of all time. Again, I don't think that's that ridiculous when you look at what Hellebuyck has done over the last 6, 7, 8 years, really kind of starting with, around the 2016-2017 season, right? His numbers are just incredible. And the fact that he plays, usually 60 plus games, The one thing, obviously, is the playoffs. That's the one caveat, if you want to, say that, is that he hasn't had the playoff success that he's had in the regular season, except for the 2017-8 season when the Jets went on that run and, beat Nashville in the second round and everything like that. But I mean, he has followed up his Vezina trophy this season, and somehow he's topping that, and he's been even better. Like, his numbers are just absolutely absurd. I mean, really, the only weak game he's had this year is against Tampa Bay.
And they still won 7-4.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. To your point, Ezzy, the goals above expected for Connor Hellebuyck tonight, 3.7 goals above expected. That's what he saved. He saved 3.7 goals above expected tonight against Colorado. So if you needed further evidence, whatever numbers, whatever stats you believe in, whether it be traditional stats, whether it be the so-called fancy stats, Connor Hellebuyck was the difference maker in tonight's victory for the Winnipeg Jets over the Colorado Avalanche, a game that the Jets will improve to 13-1 now on the regular season through the first 14 games. They move with Minnesota still in action tonight. They move 8 points ahead of the Minnesota Wild, and the Colorado Avalanche are 14 points behind the Winnipeg Jets early on in this 24-25 season. Jets are next in action Saturday afternoon. They continue the divisional homestand, with the exception of the Tampa game last Sunday, as they welcome the Dallas Stars into town for the first meeting between those two teams. That's coming Saturday afternoon. Saturday morning, 9 a.m., the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Yours truly, Ezra Ginsburg, Dave Manouk, the three of us will be here, along with Kevin Sawyer. And is Mike Heika confirmed or not yet?
He's not confirmed yet. I texted him today. For those who don't know, Mike Heika, huge friend of the show.
Yeah.
We've had him on going way back to even the Red River College days. We had him on all the time, TSN 1290. He's the team reporter for the Dallas Stars. He used to cover the Stars for the Dallas Morning News. Nobody knows the Dallas Stars better than he does, so hopefully we'll get him on. I just haven't heard back from him, but I'll follow up with him tomorrow. But Kevin Sawyer, I believe this is the first time that we've had Kevin on, or will have Kevin on, I should say.
He still very well could come to his senses and say, no, thank you. I'm not interested in joining you. But assuming he doesn't, Kevin Sawyer is going to be making his debut with us on Saturday morning. So it'll be good to get an opportunity to talk to Kevin, sort of a way you see him on the broadcast, you hear him on the broadcast and everything along those lines. But it'll be great to have him sort of spend a little bit of extra time with us here on the Saturday morning edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
And I just wanted to say one thing, Drew, here before we wrap up. A lot of people are giving me, a hard time about my exposed insulation here. I don't know if Drywall Man is in the chat tonight. Drywall Man, of course, is a regular IC viewer / listener. He's a chat contributor, but I could definitely use some drywall. But, for those who don't know, I just bought a house in St. James. I just moved in. I'm not sure if I am going to drywall these walls, but for now, I'm just going with that look. Obviously, I've added the Marty Brodeur poster behind me. I'm still kind of setting up, everything down here. It's new for me, but
we had to convince.
Bear with me here.
We had to convince Ezzy that it's fiberglass and it's not cotton candy, and you cannot eat it. So we had to convince him that, and eventually we'll eventually get the drywall up as well, and we'll give that Marty Brodeur poster a good. Maybe we'll invest in a frame for you as a housewarming gift. All the Illegal Curve chatters can pool their money, and we can see about getting Ezzy a frame to put up that Jets Ducks poster and that Marty Brodeur poster behind him as well. Those are all things that'll come and will happen over the course of the coming weeks, months, years here on the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. Tons of chatter, tons of people watching. We always appreciate the support. Dave isn't here, so we haven't had anybody berating you to smash the like button throughout the course of the entirety of the broadcast. So I'll do it now as we wind down the broadcast. If you haven't already done so, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast. And as Dave said last week or earlier on Tuesday's broadcast, tell your friends, tell your family. that the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and again on Saturday mornings, is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Also, a big thank you to our sponsors. Play Now, the title sponsor of our programming. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Mike Rita has performed before 3 straight sellout crowds. The whole weekend is almost basically sold out as well. There might be a few tickets left. If you want them, you do want them, get them at rumorscomedyclub.com. Our friends at Holt Dental, I'll need them after I finish this caramel pecan sticky toffee pudding, because I think I'll need a teeth cleaning at that point, but it's well worth it. Boston Pizza, they sent me all this great food. City Place will be there in a couple weeks' time. We'll be there on the 19th of November, Tuesday, November 19th, 12 noon. Jets, Panthers, Stanley Cup champions in town. We'll be doing our noon hour show there on the 19th of November. And of course, our friends at Seagram's. They gave you Gabe Velarde's goal as the Seagram shot of the game. For Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. I'm going back to eating some great food. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great rest of your night. Until Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.